Okay. Can everybody see my screen? All right.
Probably.
Yes.
Okay. Say yes in the chat if you can. Say no. Okay, if you can. Very good. Yes. Okay. Let's begin. Also, first of all, let me talk about the homework a little bit. Okay, because the homework was kind of hard, I guess. So most of you turned it in. I had 6 students who did not turn it in. So if you have not turned it in yet, make sure you do so very quickly. And this lesson will be a review of the entire unit because we're done with Unit 2. Unit 2 was the introduction to simple equations. So this lesson is just review of all the things that we have learned within this Unit 2. So our schedule today, of course, we're going to go over homework questions, and then we're going to go over all the lessons, and then finally practice problems. All right, so let's first go over these homework questions. All right, I'd like everybody to participate here. So if you can, unmute yourself. And what are we going to do here? So what's our first step? Does anybody know what's our first step? We want to solve for h. Okay, what's our first step? We solve for h. All right, so everybody, if you can, unmute yourself and then tell me what is our first step here. If you want to solve for h, okay, what do you need to do? Okay, so what's our first step?
You move h to the other side and the rest to the and v. Yeah, you just move h to the other side.
You move h to the other side. How do you move h to the other side?
Wait, never mind. I think never mind. You move 1/3 pi r to the power of 2 to the other side, actually.
And how would you do that?
So you just move it to the other side and then do v over 1/3 times pi 2 times r to the power 2 equals to h.
All right, so if you divide both sides, right? Divide both sides by 1/3 pi r squared, then this cancels out. All right, this cancels out, okay? And then you have h is equal to v over 1/3 pi r squared. Are we done yet? We're not done, actually. Because what is this? We have 1/3 in another fraction. All right, so that's incorrect. Okay, that's incorrect because we have a fraction within fraction that's not simplified yet. So this 1/3, remember, divide by a fraction, multiply by its reciprocal. So it's basically 3v over pi r squared. All right, did everybody get this answer when they're doing the homework? Okay,
Yeah,
last
I
lesson
got
homework.
it.
Okay, very good, very good. Also, note, last homework did include some formulas, okay? And this was one of them, okay? And literal equations are quite important, right? You're working with all these scientific physics, mathematical formulas. You're going to have to manipulate those formulas to get a certain variable. In this case, it's h, right? H denotes height, all right? This is a volume formula for a cone, okay? So pi r squared is the, let me just, okay, this doesn't relate that much to algebra, but it's interesting, I guess. So note, okay, v is equal to pi 1/3 pi r squared. H is volume of a cone. Okay, so what you have here is pi r squared, right? That's a circle. Okay, so we have the circle, and you have the circle, right? This is r, the radius of the circle, and we have height here. This right here is a cylinder, right? So the volume of the cylinder is pi r squared times h, because it's the area of the circle times the height. All right, and if we take 1/3 of that, we get a cone here. Okay, if you take 1/3 of this cylinder's volume, then we get our cone. Okay, you can verify this formula online or something. Actually, let me search it up right now. So make sure I'm not telling you the wrong thing. Hold on. So a cone's volume is indeed pi r squared to h times 1/3. Okay, so it's basically 1/3 of a cylinder. And likewise, okay, the volume of a pyramid is 1/3 of base times height, right? So the volume of a pyramid is very interesting, right? So these cone-like pyramid shapes, there's just 1/3 of like a cylinder, 1/3 of a rectangle. So if you search it up, the pyramid volume is just 1/3 of a rectangle. It's length times width times height over 3. Okay, so very interesting. So you can do more research on that if you want. All right, so let's go to our second problem here. Y is equal to 12xy plus 3z minus x. And here we're solving for x. All right, so this one you need to use the factorization. Okay, you need to use the factorization. Okay. Actually, did I copy this wrong? I think I did copy it wrong. Okay, this is 3xz. 12xy plus 3xz minus x, and then solve for x. So everybody participate. Okay, so how are we going to complete this problem? So what's our first step here? You have to use the factorization, right? So if you want to factorize, okay, you have to find the greatest common factor, right? So what is our greatest common factor here? Does anybody know our greatest common factor? Right, everybody participate, unmute yourselves, or you can put it in chat. Okay, so what's in this identity here? What's our greatest common factor that we are going to factor out?
It's x.
X. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to factor out the x. Okay, factor out the x. Then what's inside the parentheses? All right, so who can tell me what's inside the parentheses?
Gonna be 12y plus 3z minus 1.
Correct. All right, after you factor out that x, basically removing x, dividing x from all of these terms, right? If you multiply this back again, you'll know that you get exactly this, okay? So you can check if you want. And then we want to solve for x, right? And we're multiplying x to this big identity, right? We're multiplying x to this big identity here. So what we need to do to get x isolated on one side is to divide by this big identity. So we're dividing y by all of this. So we're dividing 12y plus 3z minus 1. Okay, so x is equal to y over 12y plus 3z minus 1. So I hope everybody got this, okay? Did everybody get this? Yes, okay. So then let's solve for question 3, okay? So this one, everybody put your answers in the chat, okay? I want to see everybody's answers for the homework. If you did the homework, you can just look at your homework and put them in the chat. I see. Let's see who got it correct. All right, I'll give you a few moments to put your answers in the chat. Shouldn't be too long. Just look at your homework if you did it. and put it in the chat. Also, for those who did do your homework and submitted it, so if you do your homework, make sure to submit it. For those who submitted it, I did grade it already. Okay. Last week we did not have a lesson, so I did not grade them last week to give you more time to do them. And so I graded those, so make sure you look back at the feedback. All right. Are there any answers? Okay. So our answers here, we have C is equal to N over BT minus A over BT plus 2 over T. Okay, okay. Fair enough. And then we have N minus A minus 2B over BT is equal to C. Okay, so we have a lot of answers here. Okay, I see some of you put it in this format. N over BT minus A over BT minus 2 over T. You're separating that big fraction. And a lot of you just said N over A minus 2B over BT. Okay, these are all simplified enough. Okay, so they're all perfectly good answers. So congratulations for anybody who got this correct. And I see a lot of these answers are correct. So what you need to do here is we need to solve for C, right? So what's our first step? Does anybody know what's our first step here? Okay, what's our first step? First, we need to get rid of this A, right? To divide by this B, we need to get rid of the A. So let's just move that real quick. Okay, shouldn't be too much of a deal. And then what do we do? Okay, does anybody know what we do now?
I think we do the distributive property. So you do B times 2 plus B times CT.
Okay. So do the distributive property. 2B plus BCT. Now what do we do? Okay. Now we move the 2B to the other side because we can do that. Okay, it has nothing to do with C, so we just move it to the other side. Okay. Now we're stuck with BCT on this side. And that's pretty easy, right? Because now to get rid of B and T, we just divide by them because they're all multiplying. So if we divide both sides by BT, see these cancels out. Okay. And then you get C is equal to N minus A minus 2B over BT. Okay. And if you want to think of it this way, you could also, since they all have the common denominator, right? They all have the common denominator. Okay. So you can separate them. So N over BT minus A over BT, okay, minus 2B over BT. And in this case, they cancel out. So it's just 2 over T. It's just 2 over T. All right, if you want to think of it this way, it's also fine, okay? Perfectly good answers. So congratulations to anyone who got the correct answer. Elaine, it's not plus 2T, so make sure you get the signs correct, but I think everybody else, it's great. Okay, good job, everybody. All right, so now let's move on to the hard problems. Okay, this is quite a hard one. Okay, this one was quite hard. Okay, so how are we going to do this one? Does anybody know? How are we going to do this one? So what's our first step here? Okay, I think some of you did very well on this. Okay, on this homework. William, I think you got 100. Okay, that was very good. So, and you did it the perfect way. Okay, you combined the fractions. So can anybody unmute yourselves? Okay, how are we going to do this? Because this one you have to solve for O, right? I forgot to solve for
So
B. And for this one, I think you have to also solve for B. And so how do you do this one?
so I think you just first move the B to the other side and the R to the other side.
All right, you move it, correct? And then what do you?
And then after that, you do you find the common denominator for 1 over A and 1 over R.
And
So
that is
that is 1 over B equals to R over AR minus A over AR.
correct. So what William means here is we need to find the common denominator, right? Common denominator between the A and the R. Okay. I give you 3/4 and 1/2. Can you combine these fractions by adding them? What you add 3 plus 1 and 4 plus 2? No, you can't do that. Okay, that's 2/3. Not correct. Okay, it's not correct. But when you have two fractions of the different denominator, you need to find the common denominator. So you have 3/4 plus 1/2 again. Okay, you multiply this by 2 and 2. Then you have the common denominator. They're both 4, right? They're both 4. Okay, then you can combine them. Same with variables. Okay, variables can be manipulated just like real numbers, right? So note, okay, this is very important. Okay, and this isn't a unit to learn this yet. Okay, but I'm going to give this formula real quick, and then in later units, then we can do it. So A over B plus minus C over D will be equal to, okay, will be equal to AD plus minus BC over BD. Okay, are there any questions on this formula? So this is how you combine the fractions, all right? Plus minus just equals, just means plus or minus, okay? So it's A over B minus C over D, or A over B plus C over D, okay? And do you want to know how this formula works? Okay, so how are we going to make, so how does this formula work? All right, how does this formula work? So let's go back to our real number example, okay? Because it's more easier to explain, right? So 3/4 plus 1/2. How are we going to do this? We need to multiply. Actually, let's do another example. Let's use 2/3 and 1/2. Okay, since 4 is a multiple of 2. So 2/3 plus 1/2. Well, first of all, we can get the common denominator by multiplying the denominators, right? Then we get a common denominator, okay? So what we need to do here is we're going to have to multiply 2/3 times, okay, this example does not relate to this 1 over r number 4 problem. Okay, this is just an example. So 2/3, okay, you have to multiply by 2 over 2. Okay, multiply the numerator and the denominator. Well, this doesn't change anything because 2 over 2 multiplied to that is just 1, right? And then plus 1 over 2, okay, you have to multiply by this 3, right? Because you're multiplying the denominators. 3 over 3. Okay, and this is exactly the formula. Okay, you can derive it yourself. Okay, so how we do this? Okay, so our common denominator, um, Okay, our common denominator is BD. All right, so we want to get something with this over BD. So how we do that? Well, A over B, okay, the denominator is B, right? To get it to BD, we need to multiply this fraction A over B by D. So we get this. Okay, we get something like this. And then also, for the fraction C over D to have the denominator BD, then we have to multiply C over D by B over B, right? Okay, if you actually calculate this, then you get AD over BD plus BC over BD. Okay. And since they have the same denominator, then it just equals this formula. Okay, so very useful when you are combining fractions. Okay, extremely useful formula. So if you don't know this, then it's very hard to solve these kind of problems. Okay, so make sure you take notes on this. All right, so this is very important. Okay, so back to this example, this homework question. 1 over a minus 1 over r. Okay, we need to combine the fractions. Because no matter how you multiply b, how are you going to solve? You can't solve, right? You can't solve anything. So what you need to do is you need to, actually, if you think about it, you could also get away with not combining the fractions. But combining the fractions is it's more efficient. Okay, so r, okay, remember, so let's do this again. So imagine 1 over a minus 1 over r is a over b minus c over d. So what's our first step, okay? You have to get AD minus BC. So AD, right? 1 over r. BC, 1 over a, okay? So we get r minus a, okay? And then BD, e times r. Okay? So then you have this, right? So how are you going to do this now? So multiply, okay? Multiply both sides by AR. You get AR over B is equal to R minus A. Then you multiply both sides by B. Okay. Then you get AR is equal to R minus A times B. Okay. Then B is equal to just AR over R minus A, right? Very easy to solve. You can combine those fractions. Okay.
I
Any
did
questions?
I did it a different way. So after I did 1b equals to r minus a over a ar, I just flipped I just did 1 over b's and r minus a over ar's reciprocals. So basically it's b equals ar minus no, divided by r minus a.
Oh, so you did. Well, I guess you could take the reciprocal. Okay, but it's kind of hard in this stage to understand that. Basically, you multiply both sides by -1, right? Like this. Okay, right? If you do that, so if you take the power of, then it's 1 to the -1 over b to the -1. Okay, if you take b to the -1, it's just going to 1 over b to b. So it's 1 over b. Yeah, same thing. Okay, so if you multiply both sides by well, raise both sides to the power of -1, then you just flip, okay, take the reciprocal of both sides. Then you get b is equal to AR over R minus A, right? You could do that. Okay, more efficient, even more efficient. Great. Okay, excellent. Well, let's try a different way. Okay, so without combining the fractions, it's going to be, you can also solve it, but I just like combining the fractions. Okay, on harder problems, it's more efficient to combine the fractions. Okay, but on this problem, it's actually not that complex, so we can do it another way. So let's try doing it another way. So let's just multiply both sides. Okay, just let's multiply both sides by b. Okay, now what you need to do, what do you need to do? Well, you need to multiply both sides by something again, okay, to get rid of this a and the r and get only the b on side. So how are we going to do that? Well, again, if you have two fractions with different denominators, then you're going to have to multiply the whole equation by their common denominator, which in this case is AR. Okay, so again, AR is equal, okay, to BR minus BA. AR is equal to, okay, factor out the B, okay, factor out the common, greatest common factor, B times the quantity of R minus A, okay, then you divide both sides by R minus A, so then you get B is equal to AR over R minus A. Okay, any questions on this one? Any questions? Okay. Are there any questions? If there are no questions, then I will continue. Okay, so now let's go on to 5. Okay, we're still solving for B, and now we know how to combine the fractions. You don't have to do that much steps. Okay, so 2a plus 1 over b, just move the 1 over c to the other side first. Okay, so let's do this quickly. Okay, so 2a plus b, 2a plus 1 over b is equal, okay, to c minus 3 over 3c, right? So then what you need to do is you need to get multiply both sides by b and multiply both sides by 3c. Okay, so then, okay, then you get 2a plus 1, okay, actually it's 3c, is equal to b minus 3. Okay, then you divide both sides by c minus 3. You get b is equal to 3c. Okay, so that's your answer. Very efficient when you combine these fractions, right? When you can combine these fractions, it's extremely efficient. Okay, and that's why we need to combine fractions. Are there any questions? All right, no questions. All right, so let's review our inverse operations. So today we're reviewing everything. Okay, so inverse operations, recall, inverse operations are pairs of mathematical manipulations in which one operation cancels out or undoes the action of the other. Okay, examples. Multiplication, okay, and division. Second, all right, second, addition and subtraction. Third, okay, third, we have what? how about we say, how should I word this? Okay.
Cubes and roots.
Roots, okay.
Squares and roots. I mean, like, what's it called?
Exponents and roots.
Yeah, exponents.
Exponents and roots. So how about let's word it like this? Exponents between 0 and 1. Well, let's just say positive exponents. Fine, let's just say exponents, okay? We don't need to go into too much about exponents right now. We'll have a separate unit on that. So it's just exponents and roots. Okay, for example, a squared, the square root of a squared, right? Cancels out, it's just a. Okay. So linear equations, how to solve them, make sure you isolate. Okay, isolate your variable on one side. Okay, so isolate the variable on one side, isolate your numbers. Okay, isolate your numbers on the other side. Okay, you have to isolate them on your other side. Okay. Okay, so your final result should be something like x is equal to a, where a is the real number solution of x. Okay, so that's what we have here. Unless you're working with literal equations, then it'll be multiple variables, but usually we just have x is equal to a. Okay, that's the value of x. So just isolate x on one side. Okay, this should be how your solution looks like. Any questions? Any exponents? No. What? Any exponents? That sucks. What am I saying? Questions. My questions. I'm going crazy. Okay. Word and applied problems. Yes. That's what we're doing. Okay, steps. Number 1, read the problem carefully. Okay, read the problem carefully. So make sure you know all those important details. Okay, those important details. All right, like your independent variables, dependent variables. Okay, those you need to format. Like those you need to format an equation with. So make sure you know those. Then you have to find the unknown, the known as variable. Okay. So let's say, how old is Tanya? Okay, that's your unknown. How old is Tanya? Okay. And you have to denote that as a variable. Let's say Tanya's age is X, and her sister Emily's age is like 3. Okay. And let's say Tanya is 4 years older than Emily. Then you know that her age is 7. Okay, so that was a very simple problem, but if you denote 3 plus actually 4 is equal to x, right? Then you get 7 is equal to x, right? Okay. Then of course you need to represent with algebraic equation, okay? And then solve your equation and make sure you answer the question, right? So if you don't answer the question, then you got it wrong. Okay. Sometimes the answer is not x. Sometimes the answer is x plus 3. So add it on. Substitute your x into x plus 3, and that's your answer. Make sure you label. Okay, so make sure okay, make sure to label. Okay, so make sure to label, because these are real world problems. Okay, you can just say Tanya is 7. You can't just say that. Well, you could, but it's well, if you solved another, let's say another word problem. Okay, so you say how much does Donald have? Okay, how much does Donald have? You say 3. Like, what the heck, man? 3. What's 3? Okay, what is 3? You don't know what 3 is. Okay, these are real world problems. So real world problems, you need to know what does he have? Like 3? What's 3? $3? Okay, $3, 3 toys, 3 cookies. How much does Donald have? Okay, so you have to label. Very important. Any questions on this? Okay, so now let's go on to literal equations, our last topic. Okay, literal equations. After that, it's simple factorization. Okay, so literal equations are basically algebraic equations with multiple variables instead of just one. Okay, can anybody think? All right, so in the chat, can anybody think about some formulas, some mathematical formulas, whether it's geometrical formulas or anything with multiple variables? Can anybody think of anything? Multiple variable mathematical formulas. Okay.
Pi r squared.
Pi r squared. Okay. So A is equal to pi r squared. Remember literal equations. Okay, so you have to have the equal sign. Our area is equal to circle is equal to pi r squared. Can anybody think of any other examples? Okay, so formulas, like are some popular formulas. Okay, so like popular formulas. Can anybody think of any? Okay, we had one like 1/3 of pi r squared times h. Okay, that's another one. So b is equal to pi 1/3 pi r squared times h. Okay, so these are just geometric formulas, and a lot of these just are literal equations, and you can manipulate them to find out what each variable is. Okay, and then simple factorization, you all know this. So in this case, just the reverse of the distributive property. So for example, you have AB plus AC. You take the common factor, okay? You take the common factor, A, the greatest common factor, okay? It's A times the quantity of B plus C. So let's do another exercise. So 6 x, y, z plus 3 x, z plus 18 x. Okay, so can anybody tell me how you factor this? How do you factor this? So how do you factor this?
I know.
Okay, how do you factor this? Remember the greatest common factor, right? So who can tell me the greatest common factor here? Three x. It's correct. 3x is our greatest common factor because they share an x. They share x. What else do they share? Okay, 18 is 3 times 6. 3 is 3 times 1. And 6 is 6 times, 2 times 3. Okay, so they all share a 3. So factor out the 3x, you get 2yz. Okay, what's out? What's left? We have the just z here. And lastly, we have 6. So any questions here? Any questions?
What happened to the 18?
The 18, okay?
Yeah.
The 18, right? 3x times 6. Okay, it's 18x.
So opposite distribution, basically.
Yes, basically that. Okay, so now let's do some practice problems, all right? So I'm just gonna leave this to you guys, okay? I'll give you a few moments to do this in your notebooks, okay? And, okay, and please put your answers in the chat, all right? Oh, the plus minus? Okay, the plus minus just means plus or minus. Okay, so this just gonna use this in a formula. Okay, so it can mean AB plus BC or AB minus BC, because if we didn't have that symbol, we had to write both possibilities out. Okay, it does look like a Chinese character, but it's just a plus over a minus. It's just plus minus. Okay, so we have a couple answers. C is equal to 13, and then C is
Wait.
equal to negative 13. Okay. Yes. Who is that?
E equals to negative 13.
Negative 13. Okay. Any more answers? Actually, I'll give you a few more minutes to do this. All right. Okay, so we have the C is equal to negative 13. Okay, so most of our answers, okay, so make sure you answer the problem. Okay, make sure you do these problems. We didn't get that many. Okay, we just have like 5 answers. So make sure the rest of you, make sure you participate. Okay, do the problem. So 2x minus 16. All you need to do first, why don't you just move why don't you just move the 10 to the other side? Okay, so we just move the 10 to the other side. Okay, so move the 10 to the other side. You get negative 26. Okay, is equal to, and then move the 2c to the other side. Okay, so then you get, and then multiply everything by 4. So multiply this by 4, what are you going to get? Okay, you're going to get like negative 104 is equal to 16c minus 8c. Okay. And then you get 8c is equal to negative 104. C is equal to negative 13. Okay, any questions here? Are there any questions?
Wait,
If
can you
there are
go
no
back?
questions, yeah, what was that?
Thanks.
No? Okay. So, second one is this. 18 is equal to 12 times the quantity of 8 minus 2w over 3 plus 3w. Okay, so try this one. Okay, try this one. All right, are there any answers on this one? Any answers? Okay, so let's see. We have w is equal to negative 14 over 5, okay? And negative 3/5. That's wrong. It's supposed to be negative 2. Yes, negative 2 and 2 4/5. Yes. Okay, so let's see if anybody else has any answers. All right, so let's see who's here. Kaylee, do you have any answers? Let's see. How about Eric? All right, is the problem fine? Are you understanding everything? Okay, so let's see. We have 14 over 5, negative 14 over 5. Okay, so the negative sign. Let's see which one is correct. Okay, so let's do this. Just multiply both sides by 3 right now. Okay. Then you have 54 minus, okay, 96. That's negative 42. Is equal to negative 15W. Okay. Then you have just multiply both sides. Divide both sides by negative 15, and you get W is equal to negative. Actually, it's positive. Okay, it's positive 42 over 15. Okay, divide by 3. Okay, it's 14 over 5. Okay, remember to simplify. Okay, remember to simplify. Any questions on this? Okay, no questions? All right. All right, so now let's do this problem, okay? I'll give it a few moments and then put your answers in the chat. This one shouldn't be too hard. Okay, so it's 19 inches, okay? You have 19 inches. Are there any other answers? Okay. Let's see who's here. This one shouldn't be too hard, okay?
Wait.
19.
Wait.
Yeah?
Can you do the problem again?
What?
Nothing.
Oh. Okay. So we see we have a lot of answers. Okay, just 5. Okay, another one. 19 inches. Okay. 6 answers. We have 15 students here. Okay, so make sure you answer. Let's see who's here. Ali. Okay. Do you have any answers? What about Genevieve? Okay. Do you have any answers? Make sure you are doing the problem and participating. Okay, it'll help. Okay, 2x plus 11. Oh, well, 2x plus 22 is equal to 60. Very good, very good. So that's how you solve it. Okay, so I see a lot of people know how to do this problem. Okay, very good. Okay, 19 inches. That's correct. So remember, perimeter is just rectangle. It's 2 times the length plus the width. Okay, so 2 times x plus 11 is equal to 60. 2x is equal to 60 minus 22 is 38. X is equal to 19. Right? Quite easy, right? So now you have 4 minutes. So let me just walk you through these last few problems. Okay, let me walk you through them. Okay, so Roan purchases, okay, eggs from local dairy farm. He finds 3 broken eggs. Okay, first of all, that local dairy farm is ripping him off with 3 broken eggs. 3 broken eggs. Oh my god. Okay, and he uses half of the remaining eggs to bake a few pancakes. Okay, if 5 eggs remain now, how many eggs did Roan purchase from the farm? Okay, so x minus 3. That's how many eggs are remaining. Okay, then he uses up half of it, okay, to bake a few pancakes. All right, so if 5 eggs remain now, how many eggs did Roan purchase from the farm? And that'll be x. Actually, I forgot to label this answer. There we go. Okay, so 1/2 of x, or let's just multiply both sides by 2. So x minus 3 is equal to 10. Okay, then you get x is equal to 13 eggs. There are multiple things wrong with this problem. First of all, 3 broken eggs. Okay, 3 broken eggs. That's a major ripoff. Second of all, who puts 13 eggs in a carton? Like, what the heck, man? First of all, the standard is 12. And usually cartons have like 2 columns. This 13 is an odd number. How the heck are you supposed to put that in a carton? I don't know. This local dairy farm is very unprofessional. Okay, so now let's solve this problem. Okay, so let's do this. How are we going to solve this one? So let's just multiply everything by 6 first. Remember, if we have a fraction here, we don't like fractions. Okay, then move this to the other side. Okay, divide by 38. Z is equal, or it's equal to the cube root of A over 6. Any questions? Any questions? Are there any questions here? Yes, 3 broken eggs. Very sad. And 13. 13 is a very unlucky number. It's just weird, peculiar. Okay, so thank you for listening, everybody. Okay, thank you for listening. All right, so that is the end of our class this week, and to next week, we will be working on the next unit. Okay, so the next unit. So next week we're going to do the next unit. Okay, and I think it will be some graphing actually, some functions. Okay, some functions. So that'll be quite exciting. Okay. Some functions will actually get into the linear part of these equations. Remember, linear equations, we can actually graph them. Okay, turn lines. Okay, so it's quite interesting. All right. So, that'll be the end of our class today. So thank you everybody for listening. Okay, goodbye everybody.